Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking all about social media with our expert in the hot seat. This is Megan. Say hi, Megan.
Hey guys, so glad to be here.
So, Megan has worked in marketing and customer service at a variety of startups. She's over in Denver, Colorado, and she works, like we said, for Team Edgar, which is a social media posting tool for small businesses. She thrives on creating values, experiences, and helping us stand out online. So we've got a ton of just tons of information about social media for you today. So let's get started. Okay, let's see. So Megan, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, for sure. So social media automation, I feel like so often gets a little bit of a dirty vibe to it because you hear automation and you think, well, that's not what social media is all about. Social media is supposed to keep the social in it. However, we take the viewpoint that if you automate and you have these systems available for your community and for your marketing team, that it actually frees up your time to support and to create better content to your followers and to engage with them in real time. So there's a ton of systems that you can set up within social media in order to really get your message out in an intentional way. And when you create your status updates within a software and you automate them to go out, it creates a more consistent story for your followers, and it creates a space where your followers know you're consistently going to show up for them, because in such a crowded space that social media is, you know their attention is being dragged in every which direction. So if you're someone who is going to say, I'm not just a passing fad that you are going to see just disappear. My Facebook page is just going to leave soon, or I'm not just going to stop posting because I'm not seeing a lot of engagement. If you're able to push through and to actually show your followers, I am here to stay, I'm consistently adding value to you, it's much more likely you'll get that engagement that those algorithms and your followers are really hoping for. And it's just a really great way, again, to make sure the systems are working in a way that supports your marketing goals as well as supports your followers and what they want to learn from you on social media.
Oh, I love that you touched on the part about when engagement is down, because that can be the mindset. Like, what do you recommend to push through when it comes to mindset or systems? When
Absolutely. I think so often it is the companies who have the proper social media mindset that actually win on social media. So it's not that you're there just to be this place that's broadcasting out all of these different marketing messages and really being there to make sure that you are being heard by everyone. It's a place to really, again, keep the social and social media. So if you go into it and you're going into it in a way that you're growing your community slowly because you're reaching the right people, and it takes time to reach the right people, it really adds a lot more of a fun space for your whole entire following to be. So some of the mindset ideas that I always like to really suggest are: going slow is better. Consistency is key. The minute that you think no one is looking at your content is the minute that it might actually be able to have someone actually engage with it. Because so often we're just in this scroll hole. We forget to stop and actually engage with that content so often. And if you give up before someone actually starts to like you and actually starts to trust you, that know, like, and trust that you hear so often, that's so important on social media. If you give up so soon, you're just going to, again, be one of those social media fads that falls off, rather than being someone who's consistently there. So if you're not seeing a lot of engagement and you feel like you're just going out there and speaking to no one, no people are out there listening. You just have to gain their trust. So build slowly in order to gain that trust. I always like to equate it to the fact that if you are someone who is going on a first date, you're not going to ask someone to marry you right away. That's not going to go over well. You have to take the time to court them. So court your social media followers. They're real people behind that screen. It's not going to be something where if you sell to them as the first post they see, that's not going to go over very well. So that's why having the mindset of, hey, we are just having a conversation and I'm showing if I am the right person to teach you about my product or service, or if you want to go elsewhere, and really having that mindset that that's okay, because you'll attract the people that it's right for and you'll repel the people that it's wrong for. And that truly does lead to social media success. So show up like as if you had 1 million followers. What would you say? What would you do? And eventually, if you're consistent and you're slowly building your tribe, they will actually come. That word of mouth marketing will spread so much further. And if you get word of mouth marketing, that is the best way to get trust in social media, because it's their friends telling them to trust you, and you don't have to do the hard work after it.
I love that. When do you have, so if your engagement is down and you're feeling discouraged, when is a good point to get help and be like, maybe this platform actually isn't right for me? But do you
Yeah.
have any points on that?
That's a really good question, because not all of the companies and all of the brands out there should be on every single platform. You want to listen to where your followers want to engage with you. So if you're not finding luck in the way that Twitter is really great for sharing content and for curating great content and stuff like that, if you're finding your followers aren't talking back to you, aren't clicking on your links, all of that fun stuff, perhaps that's because your followers prefer to consume content on Instagram. They're more visual. They want that more behind the scenes content. So again, it's sitting down and writing out who your ideal audience persona is, who you are talking to, and where they are going to be. So I'm glad you brought up that point, that if you feel like you are just not getting any luck or any traction with any followers on social media, experiment with different platforms. The experimental mindset is so important. And reaching out and actually talking to who you think your ideal customer is one of the best ways to get help with engagement. So this means going into Facebook groups where you think that ideal person is hanging out and talking to them, asking them what their pain points are, learning the language that they use to describe their pain points, and bringing that language back into your marketing is so important, because they'll see that, they'll see themselves in that language, they'll resonate a little bit further, and again, they'll know they're in the right place. Same with things like Pinterest and YouTube. Those are actual social media sites. However, they also function as search engines. So go to the search bars in there and start typing in some keywords that you would use within your industry. That's going to pop up a drop-down menu of some of the most commonly asked questions around that keyword. So for example, we're a social media automation tool. So if I type in social media to YouTube, I can see some of the top searches around that. And then I can use those terms and use those questions asked to create my own content with my own unique spin on it, and then put that out in the world, because I know those questions are already being answered. So to your point of when do you ask for help for engagement, ask for help right away. Make sure that you're using that social side of social media to see what's needed out there, and then provide that, because it is all about providing value, whether that's educational value or entertaining value, in order to attract the right people to follow you, because no one comes to social media to be sold to. They come there to interact with their friends and their family, and to learn and to be entertained and to have a little bit of an escape from their day. So provide that to them as a brand, and it's much more likely you'll see that follower count increase, and you'll see that people actually want to talk back to you because they realize there's a real person who wants to engage with them there.
I love that. So as you were talking about all the different reasons that people come to the platforms we're on social media, to be personable. We want to be personable on our business profiles, but is there a ratio? Like, is there too much personal, I don't know, personal exposure on your feed as opposed to being too salesy? Like, what's the balance there? Do you have any recommendations for that?
Yeah, great question. So we always recommend following this rule, which I'm sure you've heard in a lot of parts of business, that Pareto principle of 80-20. 80% of your content should be really value-adding content. 20% should be a little bit more salesy and self-promoting of your business. Now, to your point, you don't want to be vulnerable in every sense of what you're talking about in your personal life. However, those personal stories are the things that people latch onto. So if you have something that you know that could be a really great latch for people to talk about, share that. For example, Pat Flynn, who is a podcaster and has a really huge following, loves Back to the Future. And he talks about that personal fact about himself on social media a lot. Now, you might be wondering, how does that have to relate to my business at all? Well, when people see Back to the Future stuff out in the world, they will take a picture and tag him in it because they know he would love it. So it's thinking about those little sticky things that you do truly love and to speak to your personality. Share those kind of things because, again, that's the storyline that people remember, those personality traits with you. We are hardwired as humans to want to get to know each other. And really, when you think about how we've actually come to buy things throughout our whole life, it's usually with a salesperson, a real person there. So showing your face once in a while, studies have shown that actually taking a selfie is a great way to produce vulnerability and to produce an intimate space with people because the actual follower can imagine what you're doing. It's your face right there. And that facial recognition is going to be way stronger than a logo recognition in their brain. So do that with some behind the scenes content about what you're working on in your business. These can be personal stories about why you developed your business. So it doesn't have to be these vulnerable personal things that you might be thinking that doesn't work really well. It can be, what's your morning routine? Can you teach someone some way to be more productive? Can you save someone some money with a tip that you have for them? All of these things are really wrapped into a really strong personal vibe on social media, yet they can still add value to your followers' day. Other than that, I would recommend doing things that would really attract what your ideal audience wants at different times of day. So say you are someone who knows your audience gets up really early in the morning and goes to the gym and works out. Provide them with a motivational quote in the morning that's going to really get them going. They'll see that and they'll know, oh, wow, they relate to my day. This works really well. And that emotional appeal to your page will go on and will actually do your brand a lot of good. Perhaps that they eat lunch at their desk all alone and you want to provide them then with a blog post to read, whether it's a curated piece of content where you share your thoughts about what you thought about it, so they'll talk back and let you know what they thought about it, or it's your own article driving traffic to your site and educating them on a topic that they want to learn about. Perhaps when they get home from work, there's someone who is going to have a little bit more time to either watch a video, so you can produce some video content, or there's someone who has some time to actually engage with you, so ask them a question. So often when we're like, I'm not getting any engagement, we look at our social media and there's no call to action to stop your scroll and actually engage. So think about those ways that you can get that 80% content be really valuable. And then 20% can be a little more leading people to your email list so that they can sign up and you can actually get that sales process a little bit further through email, which is a lot easier to sell through, or leading people to a discount that you're having. And if you've done your work of having a conversation with the people at the right time in their life, people are going to be really excited to buy from you because you've proven the fact that you can add a value to their life, whether it's saving them time, money, relieving a pain point that they have. And then sales becomes a lot more fun on social media. So follow that 80-20 rule. Go on and think about the different types of posts you can send out at different types a day, at different times a day, and it does really well.
I love that. I have a couple of questions that have come up now that I loved that. When you were talking about call to action, I want to talk about categories, like I love the idea of thinking about your ideal client and what their day looks like from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. How often do we pick up our phones and look to be entertained or look for information? And if we can interrupt those times with information they're looking for, we're going to build that relationship so much quicker. So I love that you made that point. So I wanted to ask, how do you categorize that so you don't get overwhelmed? Because that can be really overwhelming. And then when you think about putting it in an automation form too, how do you keep it all straight? Because there's lots of ideas here. You've given us so many ideas already. But how do we stay on top of it and not just like
Yeah, absolutely. So categories, you nailed it, is how you make sure that your feed not only stays diverse and interesting, because no one wants to see a feed that's just blog, 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 or promotion, 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 but it also makes your content creation a lot more manageable. So the way our software is set up is with categories. You can obviously do this without software, just making these buckets of posts that your ideal audience would want to see throughout the day. So things like tips or quotes or blog posts or behind the scenes content, recommended reads. Those are kind of the types of categories that you can have go out. So the way this helps with actual content creation, so you don't go crazy and just leave social media for the times of day that you have time for it. Oftentimes that means that's never. But what this means is you're going to sit down and you're going to batch out your content. So create it in a sense that you are blocking out, say, 4 hours on your calendar every Monday. If you do that every single month, that means you're only going to have to create social media status updates 12 times this year. So that's the power of sitting down and batching out all of your social media status updates into these categories. So what you're going to do is you're going to do some math in order to decide how many status updates per category you need to create for how many times that category will send out during the week. So let's take an example of, say you want to send out 5 status updates a day, 6 days a week. That means you're going to need 30 status updates to send out that week. If you do the math out, that means 120 status updates per month that you're going to create. Now that might seem a little daunting, but if you break it down into your 6 categories, that's only 20 status updates per category per month, which sounds a lot easier. So then you can go out and source 20 motivational quotes to go ahead and put out there, 20 curated pieces of content to put in your recommended reads category, 20 tips, 20 behind the scenes items about your life, 20 promotional posts. And that is a lot more manageable to do. And then you experiment with what times a day these categories are really attracting the most engagement. Use link shorteners to see how many times people click on one of your links in order to determine the times of day that you're using this, the language that you're using. To your point with actually A/B testing the type of language that's resonating with people in your call to action. We found that when we share our blog posts, asking a question before them actually leads to a much larger click-through rate for us, piquing people's curiosity. If you ask a question before a blog post, our brains are hardwired to want to fill that information gap that we have. So if you ask a little question and your follower doesn't know the answer to it, it's likely they're going to click on that post because our brain wants to fill that information gap. So test out different things. If asking a question works really well, or if actually just telling them something within the article works better, because everyone's audience is different, and test when those categories are going out throughout the day to see if you're getting people who are actually responding to you and all of that fun stuff. And categories just truly make it a lot easier not only to create your content, but to disperse it in that 80-20 rule and make your social media feeds a really exciting place for people to be. Oftentimes this goes into that consistency aspect too, because you can do like a motivational Monday category or a trivia Thursday category where people actually come to look forward to seeing your post because they expect it to come. Or you can do categories that are a little more episodic. That kind of content is really doing well on social media because it leaves that open loop that people want to learn more. So if you set up a category that's like, Wisdom Wednesday, and you continuously teach the same kind of vibe and the same lessons every week, and you put out a video, perhaps a 2-minute video for your Wisdom Wednesday that are like little episodes, people will then come to your page, which is often hard to get people to do, to actually visit a page, because we just visit our feeds. Let's be serious here. We don't actually go to pages anymore. But that episodic content, if someone knows every single Wednesday they want to see your wisdom video and they miss it in their feed, it's likely they'll actually go to your page to consume it. So get creative with the categories. But for anyone who is feeling like you're drowning in social media content creation and that you feel like you don't have enough time, batching it out in categories and doing it once a month is going to save you a ton of time and a ton of heartache when it comes to that actual content creation.
Yep. Oh, batching. It does save so much time. It's
So
amazing.
much.
I'm such a list person. I can like sit down and brain dump a list of 10 things really fast. But if I don't have a category, then I'm like all over the place with no ideas. It's so funny how we do that. Okay, when it comes to all of these stats and knowing what's working and knowing what's not working, how do you keep track, like at your company or with your software, how do you keep track of what is really working, what's not really working, and yeah, how do you keep track of that, all of your analytics?
Yeah, great
That
question.
we can do as a business owner creating our own content, or do we need to outsource that? Like, what do we need?
Oh, absolutely. So first of all, you do not need to outsource it. The tools that the social networks themselves give you are actually incredibly simple to use and incredibly accessible to you. So in Facebook specifically, if you go to your Facebook page, there's an insights button on the top navigation bar. Once you click the insights button on the left navigation bar, on the left hand side, there will be a drop down that says posts. So click insights and then posts. And this is going to give you two things that are hugely valuable and very easy to read. One is going to be a graph of when your followers are online. So it's going to show you when your followers are online most often, which is really important for when you're sending status updates out, because recency and timeliness does go into the algorithms of when they're showing that on the feeds. And everyone's audience is different. So you might be tempted to go out and search, best times to post on social media, but those aggregate studies are not going to take into account that someone like us, Meet Edgar is a social media automation tool. Our followers are online during the workday a lot. They're marketers, they work on Facebook. So we want to bucket our posts during the workday to make sure they're seeing them. However, if you're like a mommy blogger or something like that, you are online, your followers are online after the kids went to bed or in the morning before school, stuff like that. So you need to look at this graph to know when the majority of your followers are online in order to determine when to send those out. Then right under that graph for analytics, it's going to show you all of your posts and it'll give you your reach and your engagement rates for each one. Each one will also be categorized by the type of post it is. So it'll show you if it's a link, it'll show you if it's a video or a photo, and pay attention what type of medium is getting the most engagement or is getting the most reach, because that is a clue for you that that's the kind of medium that your consumers want to consume the content in. So we can think perhaps that our ideal audience wants to read blog posts, but we will notice that when we share a video, it gets a ton more engagement. So we want to make sure that we're creating more video because they're telling you the type of content you want to actually see. And often, if you create a blog post, let's say, in order to get the most mileage out of it, you want to upcycle it anyway. So start to test out that if you've done a really well-researched article and blog post, see if you can get 5 different status updates out of it when you're sharing the link, once you're sharing a photo background that you make in Canva with some quotes on it, when you're whipping out your iPhone and doing a 2-minute video of the main points in it. You see how you can actually take one well-researched piece of content, make sure that you are actually going to get more mileage out of it, and test the type of content that your followers want to consume it in. So Facebook Insights, incredibly easy to use in order to see what type of content is doing well, what times of day it's doing well. Twitter, fantastic for demographics. So if you're just signed into your Twitter account, just type in analytics.twitter.com and it'll take you right to your analytics in Twitter. My favorite way to use Twitter analytics is to see what else your followers are interested in. It's incredibly easy to use. It has a demographics tab, an audience tab, and the information in there is amazing. It'll tell you like if they like dogs, what TV shows they like, what their household income is. All of this stuff should actually be going into your social media strategy, and it's incredibly easy to consume. So, if you see that your followers are really into dogs, perhaps share a dog meme over a cat meme. Stuff like that can really take into account your followers and what they want to see. Within the Meet Edgar software, we do it mostly with click-through rates. So our main goal is to make sure we're driving traffic to your site. So we're going to analyze how many times someone has clicked on your link, stuff like that. And that's all held within our history tab, and you can sort it to show you the post with the most clicks down to the least clicks. And you can then again start to notice patterns, times of day. We also have a tool called Variations, which allows you to A/B test the language in your posts. A/B testing the language, again, means asking a question in your blog versus a headline versus a personal story. See which one gets the most click-through rates, use that information and feed it back in, then run another test on it. So yeah, there's a ton of different ways that you, as someone who might not feel like you're super data and analytical, which I'll raise my hand right there with you, I am not either. It is 100% easy to do, to take that information and to see it within the app's actual analytics.
It is, the numbers really are so important because we can say, well, I don't like video, so my followers don't like video. But
Mm,
when the numbers show, it's like, well, you got to get on camera. What are you going to do?
true.
Okay. What was I? So how would you recommend a good call to action? Do you have any recommendations on call to action using social media to get them to your blog? Besides, you gave us that great tip on asking a question before, which that totally makes sense because no question unanswered. We just naturally fill in the blanks. I'm so glad that you had numbers to back that up because it makes sense. But what are some call to actions that work? Some ways to do that.
Yeah, good question. So I think a lot of the time you'll notice that, the right way to do X, Y, Z or something like that, those kind of clickbaity things do work pretty well. You definitely need to kind of look at the way that the algorithms do punish clickbait these days. So don't try to go too nuts on it. But putting your own unique spin on things and being a little contrarian works pretty well. So think about what you do differently than other people in your industry and use that to your advantage. So if you're someone who knows that you think about something in your industry a little bit different, make that a statement and go out and put that out there because it's going to grab the people's attention, right? And that's what you first need to do. You need to grab their attention and then simply, describe to them the benefits and the experience they're going to get rather than just the features. So like if this is trying to do a call to action to purchase your program or purchase your product, you want to make sure that you are describing out the experience and the benefit rather than just your product line. So for example, again, with me, Edgar, this script is going to be something like, we are a social media automation tool. This is our feature. We can amplify your content out to Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's going to be the feature set. But then we want to end it with the benefit. So we're going to say, so we can save you 8 hours a week on social media so you can spend that time with your family and friends or going on a relaxing vacation. Click here to find out more. You want to end the sentence with that benefit to their life because that inspiring part of, we amplify your content out to Facebook and LinkedIn. That's not going to really get someone excited to be like, oh, cool, another software, whatever. But when you can take it into the real world and you can show them that benefit of how it's going to actually change their pain point and do that ripple effect a little bit, talk a lot about if they buy this product, what else is going to go right in their life, saving time, going on more vacations, getting more followers, amplify that good vibe out. And then on the flip side, create some content that almost amplifies out that bad side of what's going to happen if they don't purchase as well. Losing followers, all of that stuff. Because sometimes we have to remind people that they have a pain point. Oftentimes we're going throughout our lives and we're just like, this is how it is. I don't know. There's no automation tool for social media or insert your product or service here. So if we can remind them that we exist for a reason to solve this pain point and take it a few steps further of being like, what is this costing you not to purchase from me? Flipping the script a little bit and being like, I am so confident that my product or service is going to make your life better. And this is how it's going to be worse if you don't purchase it is also a really strong motivator. So just think about the benefit that people can get and amplify that out a few steps to actually see that so they can see themselves in that outcome a little bit better.
Perfect. How would you, when someone is, whether they are a customer already or there's someone that's never heard of you, what does every social media platform or social media business profile need to get these people to just be raving fans, to just love us and stick around and want to see us all the time?
Yeah, I think it is sharing your values, sharing your mission, sharing the personal, unique side of things. And I know that you all know this out there. We purchase so much more on emotion and so much more on values these days than we think. So every single social profile needs to have a strong brand voice so that when someone sees you on social media, they recognize that it's you. So take some time, if you haven't done this, to pull out a Google Doc and write down what your brand voice is. It can be things like, we are funny, but not sarcastic. We are educational, but we're not serious. So do that with, say, like 10 different words, we are this, but not that. And that really helps you clarify what your brand voice is for people. So first and foremost, you need to have a consistent brand voice so that people can recognize you. colors go into brand voice, font style go into brand voice. It is a living, breathing document. That's why I always recommend doing it in Google Docs, because it'll change based on the feedback that you get from your customers, all of that fun stuff. But have that front and center when you're writing every single status update, so that you're recognizable and so that your followers can see that you are truly a consistent brand in that way. Second, sharing your mission and your value right in the description, so that when people visit your page, they know what you're about and they can be like, yes, this company speaks to me. No, it doesn't. Share your origin story in the description. Share your origin story a few times a month on social media as well. As humans, we want to orient ourselves in space and time. You know, what's one of the first things you ask people when you meet them? Where are you from? We want to know where people are from. Same with businesses. Let people know how you started, where you came from, all of that fun stuff. You know, for example, at Meet Edgar, our founder, Laura, created the company out of a need for herself, because she was finding she was spending too much time posting on social media and not enough time creating content for an educational business that she had. So she created the software for herself. She told more people about it, more people wanted it, and they were like, this is great value. So that became her origin story. And we share that story on social media because we're always gaining new followers. And it's likely not all of our followers have heard this quite often. So write some of these status updates in an evergreen fashion so that you can share them no matter what time of year it is. And don't be afraid to repeat that content for your new followers and for people who haven't consumed it before, so that they get to know you. Because likely, again, only 10% of your followers ever see anything you post on social media. So you need to continue to have that conversation for those people. So yeah, and just have your face show up once in a while. We want to be reminded there's a person behind there. Have that know, like, and trust factor be so much easier when there is that human to human connection.
Perfect. How do we get started with automating our social media and getting it planned? Do we need to just jump in and the program walks us through everything, or is there a list of things we need to get ready before, a gallery of pictures? Like, what do we need to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's oftentimes the thing that stops people from going into new systems and automation, is they think it's going to take too long to set up. So don't get overwhelmed when you go into a social media automation tool or any system, especially with Meet Edgar. You can get set up in as little as 30 minutes, and writing your status updates doesn't have to be something that's super scary, because again, if you know your ideal audience and you know who your product or service is for, you know what to say to them. You truly do. So have that confidence that you know who you're talking to and what they need to hear throughout the day. The way Edgar is set up, we do have, again, those categories that you're adding content to. So my suggestion to new users is always set up your categories, make a goal for yourself to add 10 different status updates into each category, and then put that category on your schedule twice. The way our software is set up, if you do that, then you'll have a fresh month's worth of content going out from each category. And then you can slowly start to add more content into the library and slowly start to put more time slots on your schedule. And that way you're getting the most bang for your buck right away out of the software and starting to use it. And if you feel like you don't have enough content to get started, you truly do. If you're someone who's brand new and your business is just starting out, I'm going to encourage you to get on social media now, because in this pre-launch phase is when you can build that trust. So when your product actually releases, you have people who are excited about it and who you've teased about it, rather than launching with no audience at all. So the sooner the better, I say, for everyone. Again, you can curate articles for people. Oftentimes we think we have to create all of this content ourselves, but you can do what's called newsjacking, in the sense that you can take a really popular article in your industry, go ahead and type out a little story about what you think about it, what you liked, what you disagree with. Go ahead and share that story with the link. And then you didn't have to write a whole blog post, but you're still talking about how you are different in your industry. And you're still adding value for your followers, because they didn't have to go out and Google that article. You provided it for them. Go out and Google some motivational quotes, some inspirational quotes, some quotes about dogs if you're a dog bed business or something like that. You didn't really have to create that, but that's going to add value to your followers. Tell some personal stories about why you're starting your company. You know, that kind of stuff. So it's really comes down to just getting out there, getting a little bit brave and courageous, hopping on the camera, and doing some short videos. Often we get so afraid of video because we think it's not going to look professional enough. But I always like to tell people it is not the professional videos that are working these days. It is the ones that fit into the feed, that look like you're just one of their friends or family talking to them, because people are so tired of being sold to. So just tell the behind the scenes content, outsource some of that stuff in the way that we're talking about newsjacking, curated articles, get some funny content and entertaining content in there, and just start doing that so you can free up your time to create more original content and slowly start building out your library.
Perfect. So what do you think about, because you said we get stuck in this perfectionism, right? Where we're like, and we just feel inadequate because we don't have a studio and everything perfect. So when it comes to what parts of your social media should be branded and have beautiful templates, and what is there a ratio to what is just on the fly and acceptable to share, or even if it doesn't fit into your brand, versus what's branded and looks professional? Does that
Yeah,
make sense what I asked?
great question. And I think that what is best for this is using stories. So stories are your best friend for content that's going to be a little bit more off brand, but you still want to share it because it's going to be valuable. And this is really great because stories are consumed so much these days. And it's ephemeral content. It's going to disappear in 24 hours. So if you're someone who's a little shy on camera, or you feel like you don't have the perfect setup for it, get in front of a window, have that light hitting you. That natural light is totally fine, and it's going to light you up so well. And just start practicing, because you'll know in 24 hours it'll be gone. It won't be on your beautifully curated feed that you have all your brand colors set up perfectly. Or take some snapshots of you on a walk and tell people what you're thinking about in the text or something like that. And use stories for that kind of content. And then you can use your feed on Facebook or your feed on Instagram for the more super branded content that'll live there forever. Because it's likely if someone's watching and consuming your stories, you've already gained their trust. You've already kind of convinced them to follow you because they've been to your page and they know your brand voice that way. So that's definitely what I would suggest to do with that more unbranded, unscripted content.
Perfect. I love that. And you actually have a gift for us, don't you? With Instagram
Yeah.
stories.
Absolutely. So we do have a free Instagram story template. So if you guys are struggling to know what to come up with for Instagram stories or Facebook stories, these are 13 different story ideas. So you can just pop your email address in and we'll send you those 13 story ideas just to get you sparked, to get your feet wet in that, because it truly is one of the coolest, newest features that is being consumed the most on social media. And you know, if any social media network ever introduces a new feature, that they are truly putting the algorithm towards it so much. You know, you can see Facebook that those stories actually appear in your feed sometimes now for you to click on. So it's a really great thing for brands to start taking advantage of.
Yeah, I love that. Where, if we have questions about social media and want to know more, where can we find you?
Great question. So if you have questions, especially about social media automation, email support@meetedgar.com, and we can chat with you to make sure the software is right. We also are an education first company, so we have something called Edgar University that you can join, which just keeps you up to date on all of the marketing changes that go on in the social media world. We're super active on Twitter. We do Twitter chats and stuff. Our handle is @meetedgar if you wanted to learn about that. Same on Facebook and Instagram if you prefer to consume the content there.
Perfect. I love that you have the university, because we all need an expert that is keeping up with all these platforms, because they're always coming out with more things and changing algorithms, and we want to be in the know. So I thank you so much for being here with us, Megan, and providing your expertise. I have learned so much, and I know that, and I'm excited to check out the gift that you have for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Megan.